Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Raising the Curtain, a Bloomington Normal Theater podcast with me, Ashleigh Raylan. I hope you've missed us. It's been a bit of a long time since we've posted an episode, but I'm so excited. Today I am here with John Bowen and Ben Croft, who are two of the stars of I Hate Hamlet, performing at Community Players Theater here in Bloomington, opening in, I think, about 2 weeks. 1 week, maybe. How are you guys?
Doing well.
Good.
Yeah. Lovely day.
I know. It's very windy today.
Quite.
Sun's
out at least.
So John, Ben, I don't care who we want to start with. John, let's start with you.
Okay.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, how you found your way into theater, and how you found your way to Community Players?
Okay. Well, this will be 20 minutes.
I love that.
No, I've been doing community theater since the 90s, right? So started around 92, 3 when I was living up in Kankakee. Moved to Bloomington Normal in the mid 90s and found my way to Community Players, and actually did I Hate Hamlet in 1996 at Community Players when we did it. So I was not playing the same character because I was playing one of the young characters in the show in 1996. But now I'm old enough to play the dead character in the show. So that's what I'm doing here. But yeah, have done a lot over the years. Don't sing and dance, so musicals aren't my forte. So I sort of flip-flop back and forth. I'll do shows at Players when something interests me. I'll do stuff at Heartland when something interests me. I've done the Cemetery Walk a couple of times. So yeah, kind of wherever anybody needs an actor or wants somebody with questionable talent, I'm always willing to show up.
Excellent. Who did you play in the original production?
I played writer, producer, director Gary Peter Lefkowitz.
We love that. Played by the wonderful Jake Marshall in this production.
Yeah.
Why don't we flip it over to you, Ben? How did you get your start in theater?
Well, it was back. I started in grade school doing little plays, speech contests, stuff like that. I got my start in community theater in a production of Peter Pan when I was 10 years old, maybe. I played John, Wendy's brother. And from there, just kind of caught a bug, did theater all through high school. And then I graduated in 2020, kind of took a break, as did most everybody. And I went through college, graduated from Illinois State, and I started working here, becoming a big boy out of college. And I missed the theater. And it was funny, when I was doing my undergrad at ISU, I was a public relations major, and I had a project where I had to basically make a mock PR campaign for a local Bloomington business. And the one that I chose was Community Players Theater when they were doing Jesus Christ Superstar.
My baby. Your
baby. And so I basically did a whole school project as a mock promo for Community Players. And that was my introduction to the Bloomington Normal Theater scene.
Awesome.
And so when I graduated college and I got the theater bug back, I was perusing Community Players' website. I saw that we were putting on this production, and it just sounded like a lot of fun. So here we are.
Awesome. John, let's throw it back to you really quick. Can you tell us a little bit about I Hate Hamlet? Premise, anything you want to share?
Oh, sure, yeah. Ben's character, he plays a young man named Andy Raleigh, who is a television star in one of these. And I feel like you kind of have to, teleport yourself back to, the late 80s, early 90s definitely. When this show was written. Because at that time, television, prestige television was not a thing. Television was the lesser of the Hollywood media.
Right.
Movies were the thing back then, and TV was if you can't be in the movies, you can be on TV. And so Ben's character Andy is this TV lightweight, and he gets cast in in Shakespeare in the Park in Central Park, which is a real thing, in the role of Hamlet. And he comes to New York and is a little bit anxious about it, and ends up more or less by chance, accident, synchronicity, whatever we want to call it, ending up getting the apartment that used to be owned or leased or whatever by John Barrymore, the great actor of stage and screen, right? And so, for reasons too difficult to explain, Andy is visited by the ghost of John Barrymore, and that's who I play. And basically from that point, humor ensues, right? Because Barrymore is trying to coach up this young guy who is not sure he's up to the task. Mm-hmm. No one really feels like Andy is fully up to the task. Barrymore sometimes thinks he is, and sometimes thinks he isn't. And so the question is, will Andy be able to rise to the challenge and satisfy his own inner desires, satisfy his girlfriend, satisfy his mentor, satisfy all of the various people and campaigns that are trying to pull him in different directions.
Excellent. Ben, let's throw it back to you. So this is your first production at Community Players, and you're playing the character, right, of Andy Raleigh. How has the experience been for you, and for taking some time off from theater, how has it been jumping into a role of this caliber, if you will?
Definitely quite an introduction back into it. Since high school, which was my last production, thanks to 2020, was in the fall of 2019 that I really had a large role in. And so it's been about 5 years, and it's been definitely a challenge, but a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. I think that, if you don't do something for a while, you might. I had very fond memories of kind of digging into a character and learning what drives them and why they act how they do and why they say what they do. But if you don't do that for a while, I feel like at least for me, I kind of lose that. Mm-hmm. So it's really just kind of been, it's kind of like almost like reconnecting with like an old friend with like theater and digging into a character and really exploring all that comes with playing Andy Raleigh. So definitely been a challenge, especially with some sword choreography that I've been very new to. But it's been a whole lot of fun.
That's a great segue, actually. John, I know you had mentioned that you don't really, sing and dance, but you have some movement in this show. You and I almost said Andy. You and Ben do sword fighting. How's that been for you guys?
That's been good. I mean, the sword fighting is pretty fun, right? I mean, it's a funny scene actually, where we're sort of I want him to be Hamlet so much that we're just going to have some we're just going to do the sword fight at the end of Hamlet, and will someone die? We're not actually sure, but. Yeah, but that's been a lot of fun. I mean, I've done some smaller forms of stage combat before, but I've never worked with actual swords before, and so that's been kind of fun. And then there's a dance that I do with one of the other characters. There's a little romantic waltz that happens. And fortunately, back when ballroom dancing was a craze in the 90s, my wife and I did take a ballroom dancing class for a few months, and so I remember enough about waltzing to be like, oh, okay, I can sort of figure this out. Yeah.
Excellent. So Ben, I know you had mentioned that you wanted to audition for this show because it sounded cool and it was funny and stuff like that. But is there a particular moment in the show that you think audiences might be drawn to, or a particular if you don't know anything about the show, you have to come for this scene or something like that? He's over here pondering his life.
That's a very good question. I definitely think there are just moments in the show that are just very human and very. Andy is such a wreck. Yeah. He's just spilling his heart out left and right, can't keep it in. And I do think there are moments with John's character Barrymore, that there are moments between Andy and Barrymore that I myself feel like I can really relate to when maybe Andy is just so anxious and he's so caught up in what he was and what he's trying to do now, and feeling like a total fraud, and feeling like he's a little bit of, he's a little misplaced and he shouldn't really be there. I feel like there's moments in like everyone's life when you kind of just feel like, oh, what am I doing? Like I'm doing this, but like I don't really know why, and I don't know why they asked me to either. Like I'm just I'm getting the work done, and I really do think that. So at least for me, when I was doing my initial read-throughs with the script, getting to know Andy, that was when it clicked for me of like, oh, this is very, it's very grand. It's very played up. He's playing Hamlet in Central Park, but I feel like there's very human moments sprinkled throughout this story, especially between Andy and Barrymore, that I think are really interesting to see played out on stage.
Awesome. Do you have a favorite line that you or someone else says in the show? Because there's some real good one-liners.
John, I'm interested to hear what you think about this too.
I will answer after you answer, because this will give me time to ponder.
Yeah, okay.
I was going to ask John the question too.
What are some of my favorite? Oh, of course, there's at one point there's Lillian has a very good line. I was actually talking to John, I was talking, and we were talking a couple days ago in rehearsal about how I think I made a side comment about how there's so many small little lines in this show that are just kind of thrown away, just kind of like aside. They aren't really necessarily like crucial to the story, but they're just funny. So there's just a lot of funny stuff sprinkled throughout the script. One of which is there's Andrew's agent, Lillian, and we are all gathered in Andrew's living room, and somebody says something about, oh, isn't that a great idea? And Lillian plops down on the couch and she goes, oh, don't ask me about great ideas. I'm German. And I just think that there's so many small little things sprinkled throughout. Like my head will hit the pillow at night sometimes, and I'll just kind of remember like those silly little lines throughout the script that maybe aren't necessarily super consequential, but they're just funny. One of my favorite for Andrew personally is it's in Act 2, and he's I could be in LA. He's very upset with Barrymore in this moment, and he's like, oh, I could be in LA right now making a fortune in pants, because he's wearing tights and he looks a little bit ridiculous. And it's a lot of fun. I think that Andy is very self-aware that he's feeling a little ridiculous, and he's really kind of feeling the gravity of that. So I think that's kind of funny.
Awesome. What about you, John? What's your favorite lines now that you've had time to ponder?
Oh yeah, I've been sort of running through. There's everybody. I mean, everybody has some really good, really good moments in this show, and that's, I think, one of the nice things about it. Right? It's a good ensemble piece. Almost everybody in the play interacts with everybody else. The exception is kind of my character, because a few of the characters can see me being a ghost. Some of the characters can't see me. Right? So yeah, but I mean, there are some great shows. I mean, honestly, some of my favorite lines belong to Gary, who plays the director that is trying to lure Andy back to Hollywood to make a whole pile of money, and he's so wonderfully sort of not self-aware sometimes about the things he says. Like, he's like, you're no actor, you're better than that. Like, of course you're not an actor. Like, who wants to be that? And so, I mean, those are some of the great moments. But then, there's these wonderful comments on theater itself. Deirdre has a line, Ibsen, O'Neill, nothing under 4 hours, which is just, I just crack up a little bit at that line. And even the character who's sort of not in the theater business, the character of the real estate broker, Opal's character, she has this line, it's a great space. Oh, don't worry about me. I say that in cabs, So yeah, there are these clever little bits in there that I think are just, they sort of keep up the humor throughout the piece.
Yeah. John, I'm going to stick with you. So Hamlet's obviously in the title. Do people need to know anything about Hamlet or Shakespeare to come see this show?
I would say no. I mean, there are some references to Hamlet. I'm going to assume that almost everybody has heard To Be or Not to Be.
Yes.
That is the question. Andy has a couple of takes on To Be or Not to Be. My character, one of the things that I think is fun about the Barrymore role is I get a pretty decent monologue that's straight from Hamlet. I get to deliver that, and that's kind of fun. And then there are these other little bits and pieces in there that make reference to Hamlet. But I don't think somebody needs to know the show that
premise.
well to understand it. I think it would add a little bit of a spice to some little moments in the show, but I don't think it's a requirement.
Fair. Anything else you guys want to add about the show or the rehearsal experience you've had, or?
It's just been a lot of fun for me. Really just kind of playing a character in Andy that I haven't really... This is a very new experience for me, with Andy being so torn, so pulled in every direction, and just not in control of his own destiny at all, it seems. And so it's just been a lot of fun working with everyone in the cast, with Cassie Adelman, who plays Deirdre, and John, and Opal and Diane, and everybody, because everybody, I think we mentioned during rehearsals that, like, Andy he's kind of just everybody's plaything. He's kind of just a rag doll.
Yes.
And everybody has their way with Andy at some point in the show. So for me, I think it's just been really fun working with everybody in the cast, because there's just a slightly different dynamic in relationship between Andy and all of their characters. But one central constant theme is that he is their plaything. So it's just been a lot of fun being able to play with those dynamics.
Awesome. One thing that I'm really enjoying about this show is the fact that it's some people's first time on the stage, or the rest of the cast hasn't done anything for a while. I think the last time Diane was on stage was in Steel Magnolias, and that was September of 22. Jake was just in 12 Angry Jurors, but John, I know you haven't been at Players since, 2018?
Yeah, 2018 was the last time I was at Players. I was in Augusta Osage County. And then the last time I performed at all was, like Ben, it was the fall of 2019. I was in the Cemetery Walk over there. Okay. And then, of course, 2020 and 21 and 22 happened, and it was a little bit crazy. But
that was all 1 year, right? That was funny.
That was, yeah. So. That was... So it's been a while, but it's been fun. I mean, one of the things that I've enjoyed is working, especially with the Ben and Cassie and Jake, who I didn't know at all before. And it's always fun to work with new people to get to know them, and yeah, it's fun, especially because I did the show in my 20s, and I can sort of see it from their point of view, and now I'm having the opportunity to do the character. Who is now 30 years older? John Bowen is 30 years older. John Barrymore is a ghost. But being able to see that, right? Like you can see the areas in your life where, oh yes, the regret is real now, right? All of the things that like Andy was saying, you're getting pulled in different directions. And when you're in your 50s now, you're like, well, I'm getting pulled in fewer directions now, because there are just things that I know aren't happening anymore, right? Like,
fair.
Yeah, like, and that's where I think Barrymore is, right? There are things that he still wants to do. He very much wants to help Andy, I think, but there are also things that it's baked, right? The cake has been baked, the story has been written, and there are things that he's not going to be able to change.
Awesome. All right, so when can we see the show?
Oh, it's sold out. No, I'm kidding.
If you scout for tickets.
Yeah. Well, our preview is May 9th, and it runs then the 10th, 11th, and 12th. And then the following weekend is the 17th, 18th, and 19th. So, yeah, it just runs those 2 weekends. Yeah. So get out there and see it. Yeah.
Standard Players performance start times, weeknights and Saturdays, 7:30, and then... Sundays 2:30, not 2, 2:30. So, Awesome. Anything you guys want to add?
Come see the show. It's a lot of fun. It's really funny. Cass is working hard, and we're having a great time, and that's going to show on stage. It's a lot of fun.
Same.
Good deal. All right. Well, thank you both so much for joining us. I'm excited to see the show in all of its glory and entirety. So have a great rest of your day.
See you.
Bye.